This was not the plan. But what's the point of being in charge if you can't randomly railroad all of your plans to replicate a dress that you saw in a stranger? Yesterday, Matt and I went to afternoon tea for my birthday. There is no need to tell me happy birthday. This was filmed months ago by the time you're seeing it, and I purposely don't draw attention to my birthday. But 'twas both delightful and delicious. There was this French omelet sandwich. So good. And while there, I saw this woman wearing this dress. I saw her from across the entire room and across the lobby as she walked in the door, and I thought, wow, that's a gorgeous dress. And then lo and behold, she was seated at a table fairly close to us because of course it was an afternoon tea worthy frock. And I spent the next half hour surreptitiously studying all the seams in her garment every time she got up and moved around, and then relaying all of the information about its construction that I was learning to Matt. Get you a man who takes you to tea and then listens while you explain the difference between a set-in and a raglan sleeve. Now, there is a very obvious reason why I was immediately attracted to this stranger's attire. It looked a lot like this. My favorite dress, the comfy knit princess seam gown that I've made something like 20 variations of so far. I have a type. It was a floor-length dress, clearly made out of a soft stretch material, fitted to the top of the hips, and then flaring below. I'm still not good at drawing. It had long sleeves, set in, that were tight to the arm to about 3 inches before the wrist, or I guess you could call that like the top of the wrist, the start of the wrist. And then they flared gently and extended just an inch or so over the top of the hand. It had a wide but fairly high scoop neckline in the front, making the higher back neckline almost resemble a boat neckline. Rising from this neckline was a section of lace. Now, here's the part that made me go from, oh, that looks fairly similar to your favorite dress, to, ooh, I want to recreate this. What I had at first assumed were princess seams actually were not. Matt pointed this out, or rather he pointed out that there were no side seams in the dress. It was constructed from a front panel, a back panel, and then 2 triangular godets inserted between. And both the fit and the flare of this gown were stunning. It looked so regal and comfortable at the same time. And y'all know that is the Venn diagram overlap where I want to live 90% of the time, 98% of the time. Here's the thing. I've done this construction technique before. A front panel, a back panel, and a godet inserted in between all the way up to the armpits. However, I have always used it as a way to make a dress more adjustable, so I've inserted a rather large godet and then put lacing down the side so that it can be cinched in to different waist sizes, which is great. I love that. But I think recreating this dress would be an interesting challenge because it's supposed to be so perfectly fitted. Also because I'm still not great at set-in sleeves, and because the neckline is supposed to have a nice, smooth finish that is neither hemmed nor bound. Plus, I have far less winter clothing than summer clothing, so I don't mind adding another regal, comfy, long-sleeved dress to the mix. Let's look at fabric. Did I mention this stranger's dress was completely white? Yeah, lovely. White dresses are gorgeous. However, they are also a pain in the patootie to match with undergarments. So that is a hard pass on white. And I don't really know if I'm gonna do the lace up top. It was pretty, but it wasn't like the standout design element that I liked about the dress, and it kind of seems like it would be a sensory nightmare for me. Although there are also laces that are pretty soft on the underside. Potentially laces I have. Ooh, should I make this dress in black? Like, this is a pretty soft lace. I don't think that would bother me being up against my skin. Even this one, it's a little rougher on top, but the back is a pretty even texture. These are notably both stretch laces, which I have always found to be a little softer than non-stretch. Disaster. I have red, hot pink, and mint green, and then black. But we need to look at stretch fabrics, which are lower down. Come to the floor with me. It's gonna have to be something that I have a fairly large amount of, because, you know, swish. Although I will point out that the original dress that I saw in The Stranger was very lovely and flowy, but was not a giant skirt like I so often make mine. So my sister just gave me this recently, and I do really want to make a dress out of it. I quite like it, but I feel like it's too busy for this design. And then I do have some white. My mother-in-law gave me this one. It's supposed to look like one of those eyelet fabrics, but it is a stretch knit, so it has holes in it. So whatever I make with this either needs to be see-through or needs to be lined. That's too thick. I'm not dealing with stretch crush panne. None of those are enough. Oh, do I have black? It was hiding. Okay, I have a very soft, very subtly ribbed black knit. Ribbed knit is really stretchy, so this could be a good choice because both the stretchiness of it and being black means it's really forgiving if I don't get it like 100% right. Whereas if I used like a light blue or a pink over here, it would be much less forgiving. But if I do the black, I could do the black lace and go for like an actual recreation, which is not something I usually do. I don't usually recreate things. I take them as inspiration and make something different. But I really did just like love this dress as it was. I'm gonna throw those in the wash then, and we'll come back to this at some point, whenever I feel like it. Hey there! While we're waiting for me to feel like it, how about we hear a quick word from today's sponsor, June's Journey. Some of you may know that I have gotten very into puzzles lately, but what you may not know is that it's not actually jigsaw puzzles that first opened that gate for me. 'Twas a certain hidden object mystery game. You know it, you love it. It was June's Journey. I hadn't been super into the idea of hidden object games on my phone before they first sponsored me years ago now, but I started playing it, and you know what? I could feel my brain buzzing to life. And I liked that. But let's be real, June's Journey is no slapdash thrown together basic hidden object game. It's set in the 1920s, with a whole cast of characters getting into hijinks as June Parker investigates the murder of her sister and uncovers long-buried family secrets. The graphics are so beautifully drawn, the story has lots of twists and turns, and if you want a little break from the main gameplay, there's tons more to do. You can decorate your island with all sorts of fun buildings and plants and animals and trains. And there's always cool seasonal content and special events running to mix up the search and find style. You can download June's Journey for free by scanning the QR code on screen or clicking the link in the description below. June's Journey is available on iOS and Android smartphones and tablets, as well as PC. Thank you to June's Journey for sponsoring today's video, and having had a bit of a break, I think I might finally feel like getting back to the dress. Well, it has taken like 4 or 5 days, I think, for me to feel like getting around to this. I think this is gonna involve a bit of draping, just because we are dealing with a lot of wrinkles. Did I pull this out of the wash and just leave it in a heap, all wrinkled up? Maybe. We're dealing with a stretch factor that I do not have mathematical equations for. So, I think draping might be the best way to go. Let's try it. Oh, this is so wrinkled. Why didn't I fold it up? Hindsight. I definitely think the ribbing should be vertical because that is the direction of the most stretch. And that's kind of how you always want it on dresses. You don't want the most stretch to be downward because then the weight of the dress itself, like the weight of the skirt, is stretching out the top. So you want the less stretchy direction to be downward. Yeah, the problem with draping is that I always feel like I'm wasting a bunch of fabric, but I think that's because I'm not doing it right. I still don't have a lot of experience with it, but like logically, if it's set in sleeves, then this is as far as it needs to go. Am I really comfortable just like chop, 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 chop? I don't know. So what I essentially just did was, I know it looks like I did nothing, but I was essentially taking a rectangle of fabric and pulling it out to where the top of the side seam would be, and that doesn't work because that's stretching it too far. The rectangle was based on what is up here, but the rectangle needs to be based on what is down here, and then this just needs to be cut in. Yes? Does none of this make sense? So what I want to do now is fold my fabric in half right on that center so that I have an even amount on both sides. And then go ahead and cut out a rectangle? Maybe. Am I gonna regret that? Nah, it's stretch fabric. How much can you possibly regret? Precision! I will say, I feel a lot more chaotic and winging it when I start draping stuff than when I like freehand onto fabric, because usually freehanding onto fabric involves a lot of me like drawing out a shape, taking a lot of measurements, using a ruler, doing math, and this is just like, I don't know, I'm just gonna like cut things out and then throw them up on a dress form, do the hokey pokey. Here's a new question. Should the front panel get bigger as it goes down? I think all the width could come from the godets. How much fabric do I have? Questions. I forgot I have to get sleeves out of this too. Y'all, sleeves just whooshed out of my brain because I so rarely make them. Okay, I gotta give this some thought, and then we'll keep going. Yeah. Rather than doing some calculations and being cautious and figuring out if I have enough fabric, I did a me, and I just went for it, cutting out 2 rectangles for the front and back panel. I did fold them really carefully at least, and I cut like really precisely down the line of the ribbing. I'm a little careful sometimes. Stretch fabric is seriously so forgiving though. When I pinned these up on the dress form and pulled them around the sides, they're technically big enough on their own. Like, I could sew just these 2 panels together and I would have a tube dress. Unpleasantly tight around the hips? Yes, but still. I lightly measured how long I'd need those side godets to be to see how much fabric I'd have left after that. And yeah, it looks like I'd have enough for sleeves, so we are in business. I then drifted off into the age-old debate. Pockets. Many people are actually against pockets in dresses because of how they mess with the alignment and the way that the dress falls and all that stuff. And while I get that, I am not usually one of those people. I am almost never one of those people. Alignment be damned, I want pockets! But like, this is a tough design to put pockets in, particularly with this particular fabric, which has barely enough structural integrity to act as a support for even a single phone or wallet. So I'm gonna leave that debate, probably sleep on it since we are already rapidly approaching dinner time, winter darkness is encroaching, and instead get right to cutting out those side godets, 2 lovely long triangles.
We have the beef burrito with rice and beans. We have the baked ziti with Italian sausage and spinach. And there's a little hat sticker on this one.
Aha! Take that pen.
This one?
Oh, Thanksgiving hat!
Sure.
Hi! Are you a sweet boy? Do you need mommy to give you attention right now?
Anyway, are you making a dress?
I am. I'm trying to copy the one that I saw at afternoon tea.
Oh!
But black.
Is it?
Okay. Are you being judgy?
No.
So anyway. I'm doing this all wrong and it's stupid. Oh well. I'm not actually doing this all wrong and stupid. It's coming together quite as I imagined it would. Ooh. Okay. That ditty was just in reference to the fact that if I had pinned everything on wrong side out, I could have literally pinned the seam lines together, pulled the whole thing off, and sewn it. Ah well, going the slower way is probably gonna benefit me at some point, or at least that's what I'm telling myself. Yeah. Oh! Puppy, Did you bring your pom-pom? 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 And Stinky Pom-pom. You're so cute. And both darkness and dinner time did indeed encroach, so it's another day, though I look the same, and we're back at it. Everything is fine. That pocket problem? I'm gonna skip the pockets. I know, how could I? The thing is, twice now I've solved the pocket issue on a dress like this by placing the pocket in the front, almost like a hoodie pocket, but more hidden. This only worked because both times I did that, I was using a much more stable knit, with a decent amount of structure to hold up a bit of weight. And even then, did it really work? It kind of looks weird on my first attempt, and while the second is pretty incognito, I feel super weird pulling my phone out of a mysterious place right over my crotch. On my evening gown, I added fold-in pockets, which look pretty dang good, but again, this was a much stronger stretch material that could hold up the weight of a phone slipped in there and still look pretty invisible. That's just not gonna work on this soft and very stretchy ribbed knit. So I'm allowing myself to skip it here. Inevitably, at some point, I will be annoyed by the lack of pockets in this dress, but I do have to admit, pockets do not blend seamlessly with every design and fabric type. Anyway, having said all that, rather than explained anything that I was doing, I'm just gonna skip ahead in my explanation. It's lace time! I cut around the edge of the flowers in this lace because I don't really know how else to finish it up there, you know? Tried a couple different layouts, found one that I liked, and then started pinning. And kept pinning. And did more pinning. And after literally like an hour of just pinning, I finally felt safe enough to stitch some stuff down. Huzzah! I'm using twill tape, a really thin one, around these seams to stabilize them, because the neckline is wide enough that I don't need them to stretch. And hoo boy, that is working wonders, especially considering ribbed knit like this is usually a pain in the butt to sew. It stretches out so easily. Hi, Bobby. What's up? That'd be nice.
Would that be so nice? We're gonna do it before the sun goes down, though.
That's true. Let me just finish sewing this 6 inches.
Okay.
Did I do it entirely wrong? I didn't do it entirely wrong, but my lace did shift. Okay, it's really just the center front, because of course it is. But that's not bad. I can accept that. Moving on. After a quick walk with the puppy, I got the lining piece attached, slowly but surely. My machine is squeaky. I should probably clean it. Tomorrow. Why do today what you don't feel like doing until tomorrow? Then I could get it back on the mannequin for, you know, another round of staring at it from every angle and questioning whether or not this is working. Whee! Okay, well, it's time to find out if it's working, if it's okay, because I just sewed the side panels in. Can we see that? Oh, look how see-through it is. That will be okay when it's on me, but ooh, put up right against red of my sweater. You can just see straight through that. The see-through part is the side godet because the front and the back are 2 layers, which, even being a black fabric, is also helpful for see-throughness. I gotta try this on though. Will it fit? I don't really know. Make your guesses. It's very, very soft, which I'm excited about. It's incredibly comfy. Yo, it fits. Ha! I don't think I need to change the seams at all so far. Yeah, I'm quite happy with this. It's not like super snug around the waist here, like I can grab a whole hunk of fabric, but I'm okay with that. I don't need it to be skin tight on me. I think the way that it's draping is really nice. So the neckline is not wanting to lay completely flat, so I may have to cave and do top stitching. I already did under stitching, but it's still just wanting to fold a little bit. The lace, I think, does lay pretty decently against my skin. I'm considering whether I might need to like lightly starch it, but it's not texturally annoying me. And it's pretty much laying where I left it. So I might not have to, it might be fine. The armholes, I think, are the only thing that needs to change, which is perfect because they are in the perfect place to be changed right now. They're ever so slightly cutting me right here, which is something that has happened before. Yeah? I think this is the most common place for me to have an armhole too small, is like right here in the front rather than actually underneath. So I think I just need to slightly cut these down and then we can add sleeves to this baby. I'm so pleased with how this is turning out. Oh, it feels so drapey and swooshy. Yay! Pause. Let's make sugared cranberries. I make these once or twice every cranberry season. They're so good. Matt actually likes them, which is fairly rare with fruit-based things. Better than candy. You gotta move, you're in front of my drawer. We can also, mayhap, have a little chat. Why not? I will tell you something that I'm fairly ashamed of. The other day, I got weirdly jealous while watching another creator's content, while watching somebody else's video. Not gonna tell you who, that's not important. Cup of sugar. Cup of water, stir it up, heat it into a syrup. And of course, jealousy is like the worst feeling to have because it is very quickly replaced by like shame at feeling jealous. So that's not even like what I really felt bad about, the actual jealousy. That's just kind of a thing that happened and was a blip. And then for like 3 days afterwards, I feel bad that I even felt jealous to start with. Great. There's probably a specific temperature you're supposed to bring that up to, but like, meh, you can eyeball it. And the thing is, I was not jealous over like numbers or something. I wasn't jealous because this video was doing really well and it was like, I want my videos to do that well. I was jealous literally of their creativity, which I suppose is not that surprising. These are so sticky. Why are you sticky? I always go through the cranberries first because if there's one that's squishy, trust me, it does not taste right if you eat it on its own like this. It might be fine if you put it in a cranberry sauce, but on its own, weirdest flavor. But like, the video was so good and I so enjoyed it. And I was so happy for the creator for being able to make such a wonderful video. And then a second later, I was like, I wish I could make a video like that. And to me, it's like, I don't know painters. This is gonna be a horrible analogy, but we're going with it. It's like if Monet looked at Picasso's paintings, I don't think they were even alive at the same time, and was like, those are so good, and got jealous of them. But like, Monet still likes the way that he paints. He still wants to paint the way that he paints, and Picasso paints in a totally different way. So it's this weird jealousy where you're like, I like what I'm doing, and I like the thing that you're doing. I shouldn't do what you're doing because that's what you're doing. I should just enjoy it. But then there's this weird thing in my brain that's like, but maybe I should do that because I like that, so maybe I should do it. And you know, we don't have to do the thing just because we liked the thing. This is a lesson I have struggled with in many ways throughout my life. Yeah. So yeah, I felt jealous that someone else is creative, even though simultaneously I was so excited that they were creative and so enjoying the fruits of their creativity. This is my laziness thing. I cannot be bothered to walk to the side of the house and our compost bin every day, except your own laziness. So I make a little bowl in the fridge and then go every couple days. So basically, the resulting action of me feeling jealous and then feeling bad for being jealous was that I was like, I have to look at all the videos and like rethink everything that I'm doing. This did not last long, just in case you're wondering. But you gotta have a little moment of panic. Yay! And in, you know, looking at the videos that I was currently making, I did realize, which I hadn't realized before, that I am actively currently working on 6 different videos at the same time. Like 6 videos that are being filmed or edited at the same time. I just had a lot of like long-term project ideas, especially as I was, you know, approaching my break between 2025 and 2026, where I take a month off of posting and I can do some longer videos. I had a bunch of ideas that were, you know, going to take a lot of time, not even necessarily because the project was long and difficult, but just that time was a part of the project. And I started doing a bunch of them all at the same time, which on the one hand is great. Splitting up my focus between a bunch of different projects and a bunch of different videos is like a method that I use to help me not burn out, to help me continue being, you know, creatively challenged, because instead of like sitting down for a week straight and doing one thing and getting bogged down in that, I can switch back and forth, which takes me back to like my college days when every day was a bunch of different things and I really thrived under that schedule. So I do like this in concept, but this is what I observed. What tends to happen is when I'm working on that many videos at one time, the creativity of the video itself, the storytelling, the editing, like what is the structure of this video, that tends to be the first thing to go, because it's difficult for me to split my focus 6 different ways and be thinking 6 different ways of like, what was my story structure for all of these videos? So I think that was the thing, is I kind of felt like none of my videos that I was currently working on, were like creative in the video sense, even though I was loving all of the projects. And I think this bout of jealousy just kind of struck up that chord of like, I don't feel like I'm doing what I want to be doing. And then I was able to explore that, and I was like, that's because you're doing too many things at once. Ironically, I started this video to kind of break that up, because I had all of these long-term projects going, and the next one I was going to start was going to take a chunk of time. It was also going to be a fairly long-term project. And then I saw this woman's dress and I was like, I want to make that? And like, what a perfect time, because I think you just need to pause in the making of all these long-term videos and do like a normal-sized project, you know, a dress that only takes a couple days to sew as opposed to something that takes me a month. So this was technically supposed to help with that. And I think it is. I think it is helping with that a little bit. But it very much got into me being like, okay, and now we do the dress. I don't know. I think this has been a natural evolution for me in video making, and I think I've already talked about it once, and I'm probably going to talk about it more because it has become more present in my life as a YouTuber than I was ever expecting. But this shift from like, what are my videos about, to how are my videos structured? How am I making the videos? What are my videos like? And I think the shift goes to that because I have like an endless list of project ideas, and I'm excited about all of them, and I think all of them are cool, and I'm ready to make all of them. So the creativity of the project ideas is not lacking. It's already there. I can just snag anything off of my list. The hard part is choosing which one. But the creativity of the video making is much more difficult for me and requires a lot more focus. And that's focus that I don't often allow myself. It's hard to focus on that if I'm working on 6 videos at the same time. And this isn't normal. I wouldn't be doing this if I wasn't like on my break right now. But still, it's something for me to, you know, pay attention to and take note of and consider for later. We're almost there. All of that is to say, the reason that we have stopped to make sugar cranberries is because I wanted to disrupt my process. Like, that's what I took away from that bout of jealousy, then feeling bad, then self-analyzation, and then realization was, I'm just gonna disrupt my own process. Why not? And we'll see what happens. Also, am I possibly avoiding doing the sleeves? What on earth would make you think that? Sleeves are the hard part. I don't think they'll be that hard, but I don't really know how to pattern out the top of a sleeve. So once your sugar syrup is sufficiently syrupy, we're not making caramel here. It just needs to, like, you know, not be as much water as it was. You gotta let that cool down for a little bit before you dunk all of the cranberries in. But then you can shove the cranberries on in there, let them all get thoroughly coated, take them out with some sort of strainer, slotted spoon, something that will let the extra syrup drain away. And you generally want to spread them out over like a slotted surface of some kind, if you have one. But you can also spread them out on like a cookie sheet or something if you don't have some sort of grid to put them on. Yes, I use the screen, the like splatter screen. The splatter screen for when you're cooking something greasy. It's the only thing I've got. And you do want to let them dry. They will dry, but they will not stop being sticky thanks to the sugar in the syrup. Once they're actually dry and they're not all like claggy and everything, you can lightly toss them in a coating of white sugar, and ba-bam, you have sugared cranberries. They're tart on the inside, sweet on the outside. It is like candy and they're so freaking good. Ooh, I burped while I said that. Sorry about that. While these were drying, I also cleaned my machine. Like I said I would, and then forgot I said I would. And also really needed to. Ta-da! I think sometimes I just need to thrust a stick in the bicycle wheels of my schedule. And then other times I do need to pick myself up off the pavement, get back on the bike, and make sleeves. It's just the next morning and we've already eaten like half of these. I shall put them away. So fun little update though. As of this morning when I put on this dress, because I was like, hey, look, a sleeve that I could maybe copy in some way. And then I realized for the first time that I think I made this entire dress inside out, like with the back of the fabric facing out. I was debating this at one point because the side that I kept assuming was the side we wanted to see has this sort of like silvery sheen to the lines of ribbing, which I think is probably the elastane or like the elastic that's in the fabric to make it stretch showing through. And I was like, oh cool, it has this sort of like silvery look to it. Like it has a fun, it's not the texture, it's the color, but it adds to the texture So I was like, that's the outside. That's the part that we want to see, right? It's more interesting. But now observing the fabric of this dress, which is also a black ribbed knit. No. I'm pretty sure that was supposed to be the inside of the fabric. Whoops! Luckily, it does not matter. Design choice. That's what we're calling it. It was a design choice because I did sit there and look at both sides and decide that this was the side I wanted to face out. And I do want to finish this dress. Let's figure out sleeves. There's so many birds outside. It's like a whole horde. Yay! People are always saying to trace your existing clothing in order to make new clothing, and I'm always like, but I don't have any existing clothing that works for the new designs I want to make. So it's lovely that in this one instance, I actually do have something I can kind of trace, even though I'm not really tracing it. I basically just laid a piece of fabric over my arm and put pins along the seam line, then folded the fabric into a neat rectangle and cut along my pin marks. Hopefully it's right, not like I tested it with the real dress or anything. Looks like a sleeve. Then I could pin the whole rectangle together into a tube and try it on with the actual dress. Pinning it to the arm's eye in the back was, contortional. Is that a real word? I could then adjust the pin line to match the curves of my arm, including the little zoop at the wrist, slide that baby back off, and cut down that pin line with some added seam allowance. Am I gonna test it? No! I'm just gonna cut out a second one to match and cross my fingers. Sharp observers may have noticed that I did not at all match the size of the sleeve head I just cut to the size of my existing arm's eye. Yep, guess what though? It's a stretchy fabric, so I'll just make them fit each other and pin it like crazy. And fit it did, well enough at least. I will take a moment to try on the dress and check the first sleeve before sewing on the second one though. I'm not a total chaos monster. Ooh. I think it needs the slightest adjustment up here, which you probably can't see because it's black, but there's like a few wrinkles here that I could get into the seam. And then it should be all good. So I'm going to sew the other sleeve on, do a bit of hemming, but you are going to advance right to the final product. Y'all, not to toot my own horn, but I think I nailed it. This is what the stranger's dress looked like, just in a smooth white fabric instead of a ribbed black fabric. I mean, you're entirely just gonna have to trust me on that because I did not sneakily take pictures of them. Nor am I gonna go searching the internet trying to find an image of the dress that I saw. Nah. I'm very pleased with this one though. It doesn't have pockets and it's not as swooshy as I tend to make my long dresses, but it is so soft and comfortable. This fabric is a delight. Not super supportive if you want to make pockets out of it, but a delight to wear. It feels amazing. So even though it's a little more formal feeling, I guess, maybe just because of the lace, I will most definitely be wearing this around the house quite a bit. Also, did you enjoy the new final product spot? I don't think I'll ever use it again, but is it because the rest of our house is covered in crap right now? Yes, which should hopefully be getting solved literally this afternoon. shelving should be arriving. And I can't wait. Anyway, my only construction note on this dress, which isn't even a construction note, I think I should just try lightly starching the lace so that it lays flat. It does a pretty decent job of laying flat, but if I bend over or move around too much, it'll flop a little bit. And I think if I just lightly starched it, not so that it's but that's what starching sounds like, I guess. But so that it has a little bit more body, I would have done that, except I don't have starch and I'm not gonna go out and get any form of it right now. Otherwise, pretty dang happy with the construction. I don't think the sleeves are yet perfect, but they're getting pretty good. The last time that I tried to make set-in sleeves on my own, I had clearly extra up here. This time, I think I still have a little bit of extra right here, but it's not bad at all. I am perfectly happy with it. Anyway, my mic is about to die, so we're cutting it there. Don't forget, you can download June's Journey and start playing now by clicking the link in the description below or scanning the QR code on screen. Don't die on me, I don't want to change the battery. There's water running.
Booties!
Ooh, this squat is feeling nice.
Yeah.
Don't mind me. Internet has been trash lately. People be yelling outside. Sorry to me who has to cut all this out.